Welcome to the YouTube Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mall Builders, EMAG, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show. Alrighty, we're live and rolling. So how's everybody doing tonight? Let's see, we got Tony, we got Ron, Mr. Miles, Dwight, Andy. Yeah, Miles likes his close-ups.
I'm ready, Mr. DeMille.
Yeah. Well, we see Ron's over building the turnout.
Yeah, it's a dual gauge turnout where the straight track is going to be strictly standard gauge, and the diverging route is going to be the dual gauge going to my station. It's a previous turnout that's already on my layout, but I had an open house this past Saturday, and stuff runs through it, but one of the frogs is a little rocking and rolling, and every time tenders and stuff would go through, it just rocked a little bit too much for my likings. So I figured, I'll just build a new one and replace it.
Yeah, so how'd your open house go?
Very good. It was my first open house ever. So I had about 28 people stop by. It was for the Garden State Division of the NMRA. We had our seasonal meet. It was the fall meet. We had some good clinics at the center that we had it at, and then after everybody had lunch, they all started flocking in. There was only 3 layouts open this time. Mine was a new one, so I was the new guy, I guess you'd say, and a lot of people stopped by because they wanted to see what I was doing. So it was fun. It was good. I had a guest book. They all signed it, and all ages. I had 8-year-old kid all the way up to probably 88.
It's a cool YouTube video too that he posted, kind of a fast track of the evening. Anybody who follows his channel ought to go check it out for a minute. It's nice to see a bunch of people enjoy that. So it was cool of you to post, Rod. Looked like fun.
That was cool. I set up my camera in the corner and just let it roll the whole time. Unfortunately, I didn't hook up a power supply to it. The battery died about an hour before, so I missed about the last 13 guests that stopped by. But I'll get them next time.
Well, your daughter helped you. She did a good job. You did a good job convincing her to help you.
Oh yeah, she wanted to hang out. She had her girlfriends were stopping by later that night. They were having a birthday party for her, so she ended up hanging out with Dad during the day.
Yeah, the Piedmont pilgrimage down here in Atlanta, that starts like around October the 16th, something like that. No, 15th it'll be. Yeah, October the 15th, and runs all the way through Thanksgiving. We usually run about 80 houses, 80 layouts in that. And I'll be on the 30th of October, I'll be at a layout as one of the volunteers. It's an in-scale layout.
That's cool. What kind of space are they working with?
Huh?
How big's the layout?
Oh, shoot. Looked at it about a week ago. It's kind of like a shelf layout.
Okay.
He's about 2 feet wide, I think it was, something like that. Seemed like he had like around 45, 48 feet of mainline run. That's what it was saying in the description.
Yeah, it's nice. It's cool opening my house up and open my layout up to people stopping by. I got another one coming up November 5th and 6th. have the Garden State RPM happening, Railroad Prototype Modelers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening. I think Union County Votech School. That's happening the 5th and 6th. So the 5th is the actual meet. That's where they have a bunch of nice clinics, a lot of good modelers in this area. So a lot of cool clinics. Some how-tos out in the general open area, and some model displays and everything, and then door prizes, of course. And then I think there's 2 or 3 open houses that night after the meet, and then Sundays when all the major open houses happen. And they asked me if I wanted to be open for Sunday, so we'll see how it turns out.
Who else is going to open up for that one? Because you've got a plethora of high of modelers up in your area. So is there anybody else? Any other big names going to be open at that event?
All the usual suspects.
Well, you got a bunch of them up there.
I'd have to pull up the list and see exactly who's coming.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, it's going to be you look like a GS RPM or Garden State RPM.
Yep. All right, we turned got a pretty good RPM meet down here in St. Louis. It's turned into a pretty good meet as well. But you just got such a group of modelers in your general area. It's one of the hot spots of the country. Miles is in a hot spot. You're in one. You lucky guys.
Yeah, pretty much all of New Jersey. I mean, there's layouts all over New Jersey. There's stuff you don't even know about. There's always that guy, lone wolfing it, and all of a sudden you find out, and he's like a couple blocks from your house or something.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to ask Jim and David. Let me know if this is going full screen. Last week, it was kind of cutting off the right side, about a quarter of the screen.
It's cutting off a little bit this time too. It's stretching the resolution slightly too, so it's rescaling from your monitor in a really unusual way. It's spitting out the right stream, but it's funny. It's not catastrophic, but it is cutting a little bit for some reason.
So I need to cut that back again. So
yeah, it's also messing with the aspect ratio, which makes a few of us look fatter than we already are. So.
All right. Well, Miles needs to gain a little weight. He's getting a little thin there.
Absolutely.
I'm losing way too much weight.
Yeah.
As usual, I may not last long, but I was doing this a few minutes ago, so I thought maybe I'd show everybody. This is the way the Wood and Scenics lights come for mounting them on buildings. And to me, it doesn't look very American because the light shines back on the building way too much. So my question was, could I bend these? And I took a heat gun, and I did use a heat gun, not a hair dryer. And if I grab the light back where it goes into the building, get a pretty good look at it. And then I've got it on low heat, so I'm not doing a whole bunch. But you'll see it here. I'm trying to watch your screen to see when it does the fix. You can kind of see it begin to bend. Actually on a, there it goes. Very short time, then you can just take a hold of it. And I just rebend it into the hit again.
That's much better.
It's a much better contour. Let me put it back in here in the folder so you can see. But to me, much better configuration now because it comes out, and that shade to me in America should always be flat and plumb, not turned back. I think it was Andy or somebody was saying this one on the side here with the turn back would work for a billboard, but for normal application on a building, you'd want that to be flat. So a little heat gun and just be patient, do it real quick. Watch it. You'll see it kind of begin to distort. This one did a little bit in up and down this, there straightness. But as soon as you see the plastic begin to distort, you can just take hold of it. It's not too hot, and rebend it. And to me, it becomes a lot more usable on your buildings that way. Don't tell Wood and Scenics I did that with your products.
As long as you're buying the products and using them, I don't, what's the harm?
That's what I tried to tell them too, but
All right,
Hey,
Miles, you gonna like this. This is Professor down there in Australia.
uh-huh.
This is his comment. Geez, just flipped to the stream, and the first thing I'm faced with is this almost Halloween, fish-eyed, distorted, washout, extreme close-up of Miles Hale. Scared me witless.
Now the prof's going to try to blame us for his witlessness.
I was going to say, I have been to Australia and witnessed his clinic, so tell him I will refrain from commenting about him out of the goodness of my heart, and because I'd also like to go back to Australia again sometime. He was a really nice guy. He helped me out with when I was having microphone troubles down there making that YouTube video. He's a super guy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work on. I'm gonna have to work on this. Yeah, Andy's let me know that somehow or another the software is going with my monitor resolution. My aspect ratio is getting a little twisted, but hopefully we'll get this cutoff screen situation remedied. Working on it.
Right output where your monitor is like a 16:10 ratio, YouTube is going to output a 16:9. You've got to find the right relationship there. But if you'll give me a shout, anytime over the weekend on Tuesday, whatever you want to, we'll try that. We'll sort it for everybody.
Yeah, Professor said, "Oh no, I do witless fine all on my own."
Well, now the Woodland City's instructions say, I'm a man, I always read the instructions after the fact.
Yeah.
It says here, if I can find it again, number 3, feed wires through hole, then position wall mount light over hole. Bend gooseneck to desired angle. So they show that you can actually bend the light. Now, I just tried it, and if that bends, I'll eat my hat because I think I'm going to snap that sucker if I push it that hard. But I think I'll stick with my heat gun. I don't want to try it. It feels.
No, too rigid. It seems like softening the plastic up would be a good idea.
Yeah, it's going to snap if I try that. So I'm good. I'll go with the heat gun. But anyway,
And even if they have a piece of wire in there to help, a piece of structure wire to retain that curvature or whatever, if you do it without heating it, slowly over time, the plastics, having been bent that long for so long in the package, is going to want to force that wire back slowly. So the heat gun makes it, much more permanent feeling to me.
Yeah, I'd rather do the heat gun commission. I'd rather do the heat gun technique anyway.
Well, I tell you what, we've kind of got something in the works here. I'm gonna let Miles talk about it. You want to talk about it now, Miles, or week after next? Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we lost Miles. All right, we'll give him a few minutes to come back. Dwight,
Yowza.
where you been at, fella?
Did you see my post?
Where you been at?
Well, I've been in Germany, for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Rail fanning, a little bit of eating food. I just lied.
Well, let's talk about the rail fanning, since this is a train show.
Yeah, the rail fanning, I didn't do as much as I wanted to. Did not ride the high-speed train like I wanted to. However, I did ride the train a lot between the university town and where we live. Clean, smooth, diesel and electric both. They were always busy all the time. Then I went to a model train show in the town nearby. That was an excellent show, and they actually had a store there where you could buy, trains. Model trains, trees, buildings. I don't have room in my suitcase for all that stuff, but I did buy some trees. They're nice looking trees. Sometime I'll show them. I don't have it here in front of me. Oh, froze up again.
No, you're not froze up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to do more modeling. There's a big show every year in the town nearby, the university town. There's a roundhouse there, and there's a club that runs that roundhouse, and it's right next to the train station there. And I just missed it. They had it the day I arrived, and I was so tired I couldn't go to it. So I missed it, unfortunately. But you can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
You'd like to, but. So then I went to that same town about just before I left, went back there and found the hobby shop that finally was open. And I bought one passenger car that I ride all the time in. And I bought what do you call these cars in America that they have the big, you can pour molten lava into them? What do you call those?
Oh, that's not a slag car, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
we're
club,
where's Newcastle when we need him?
Yeah, really. Well, I bought that, and then I bought a little tiny road grader with a guy already attached to it and everything.
Oh, okay.
Those fit in my suitcase okay. Other than that, I really couldn't, bring back. And it's German style, so I can't. Doesn't work on my layout too well.
Yeah, that's all right.
But that's okay.
Sorry, Johnny, I lost you. I hit the power button and turned off the Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Just as long as I don't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that rail fanning and bought some nice things and saw a great club, and I posted the link to it if you guys want to go look at the pictures.
Yeah.
And then that was interesting, the way he had the wiring on his layout, DCC and DC combined, which was kind of different. And he's also bought those little trucks, the trucks a regular truck, that you can, and they move down a path, down the road.
Yeah, that's that Fowler system.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he had, the Fowler system, which was kind of cool to watch them going up and down the road.
Yeah, that's a real nice system.
It really is.
A little expensive, but
they're a little. Well, this is a club, so they as a club they buy that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Sparky 107 said Coke. David said that's a bottle car.
Oh, okay.
For moving molten steel.
Okay.
So
it was unusual. I wanted something unusual, so that's why I bought it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, he didn't bring us no German chocolate, huh?
No, boy. Let me tell you, I love bratwurst, right, and beer. I've had enough bratwurst to last me 6 months. I don't want to see another bratwurst of my life dependent upon it. Now, they fed us real well. Every time you went to a relative's house, they had to make Thanksgiving dinner for you,
Yeah.
Oh, too much food.
Well, the big question is, I'm sure your wife enjoyed the trip.
Well, for her, it was also work. This wasn't a true vacation. It was housekeeping,
Yeah.
I painted some stairs, painted the downstairs wall to the basement so it's lighter color, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny, did you all say anything about the upcoming shows, or?
No, I was going to let you talk about that.
I kind of cut off and left, so I wasn't sure if Andy said anything or not.
No, I was asking you that, but you'd already cut yourself off, so you never did hear me ask you.
Messed up. Well, any rate, next Tuesday night we're going to do the live broadcast from Steve McKee's place. He's a RGS ON3 modeler, and he has kind of a unique concept as far as I'm concerned about how to build a railroad. But it is going extremely well, so I think it's worth tuning in for. That's the kind of teaser for it. And then I kind of begged off for next year to do only about 3 broadcasts on the road, but I kind of came back then with Andy. Andy had an idea to do some hands-on clinics as a part of YouTube Model Builders. And so Fran and I are going to be on, hopefully maybe with a guest or two, a week from Tuesday night. We'll be up in Toronto filming with Barry Silverthorne, the guy who runs Trainmasters TV. And it's not a Trainmasters broadcast. It's going to be run by Andy, and it's going to be a YouTube Model Builders, but we're going to borrow all the equipment from Trainmasters. So we should have some dynamite cameras and angles, and we're going to have obviously a professional director and producer there to kind of help make it. It should make for a dynamite program. And what we want to do is kind of introduce what Andy was talking about doing, and that's doing hands-on building of a structure or a locomotive or whatever it happens to be. We're actually going to do a structure, but we'll do it live in real time on the air, and we're going to try and select that kit as soon as we get to Toronto, which will be a week from Wednesday. Next Wednesday we'll arrive, so we'll select the kit, and then we'll post that on YouTube Model Builder, so everybody out there knows what we're going to make. And if you want to go buy one and make it while we're doing it, you'll be able to post on the chat and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this, what do I do? Or I saw you do this, how did you get that accomplished? But it's actually like coming to Amherst or coming to any of the regional shows where Fran and I do hands-on clinics, because you're going to be able to interact with us. This is going to be an actual model building session, just as if we're all in the living room together building, which I think will be a dynamite use of video and audio and everything that YouTube Model Builders has to offer to the model making community. So I would encourage anybody to spread the word and see how many viewers we can get to tune in to the show. Andy, you want to add something? Or?
And it's a precursor to what we're going to do next year. We'll do this wood show and kind of get everybody's feet wet. So, you know, we want interaction. That's the whole goal of it. That's the value in doing live content is, you know, if it wasn't for the interaction of the Q&A and me and Johnny will be on there too. We'll be on there looking at the Q&A questions and presenting them at the time so that people would ask them. So we'd really like to have the engagement with people. And then we're going to take this concept and expand it out next year and do a series of shows throughout the year, building one kit all the way to a diorama, all the way through the year of a craftsman or a wood style structure next year. Miles will be involved in that project, and of course Johnny is, and you know, we're going to bring that out through the next year. So that's why I think it's an awesome idea that Miles jumped in to put this show on even before we start next year, so that we can kind of get some feedback. So that's what we really want is the interaction, and then we'd love to have the feedback after this show or during or after this show as to what things the community wants from us for doing live build. But the goal is cameras down. You know, no, it's less FaceTime, less talking, a lot more modeling and construction, and try to shoot a few angles of a few people building the same kit. That's what Miles and a few of them are going to build the same kit. It's sequences with each other, using different techniques and you know, trying to bring more things out. And then we're going to take this concept out and spread it out next year.
Yeah. And
Question.
Just as a teaser for next a week from Tuesday, when we're on actually doing the live broadcast, it's quite possible that we will have some other well-known model makers that may drop by the studio up there and be available to build also. So be sure and tune in. It should be a really lively and fun show if the people that we want actually show up.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would it be possible to sort of a precursor to list the supplies and tools you'll need to help put those things together, so that you don't say, oh, I'm going to use these blocks to square it up. Well, I don't have those blocks I do, but some people don't have those supplies.
Well, we'll get to Toronto rather late Wednesday by the time we get in, but we're going to stay up long enough to make the decision on what kit, and we'll try, between Fran and I, we'll try and give you a tool list.
Right.
So that sometime Thursday, I think Andy and Johnny plan on putting something out to everybody to let you know not only the kit, but the tools and, maybe some other things, that adhesives, glues, solvents, whatever, paints that you might need in order to accomplish the task.
Good. Good. Sounds good.
And we're going to do that next year with the kit, where each episode we will try to focus on a particular area. But what we'll do is when we do wood show, at the end of that show, we'll talk about the tools and techniques we're going to use the next show to build that. We may even bring certain people on at the end of each show that have done things in the community already to show certain techniques. So we may do, static grass or water or put the roof on the house in one episode, but at the end of it, if we're going to do trees next time, we may bring a few people on to talk about some of the tools, tips, and techniques they use to make trees. And then the next show, we intend to make trees, and we're going to do, all the way through the complete thing. But me and Miles and Johnny are going to work on getting all that documentation together so that it won't be such a fly by the seat of our pants. We'll have it all prepped and such, so the information will be out there. But we hope to have some people modeling along with us. That's the goal.
Yeah,
Well,
in the chat.
I really want to give kudos to Andy, because he has offered to do a show next year, scratch building from the start to the finish, an NN3 scratch built brass 282 locomotive, and he's got gold stars all over his name for doing that. Okay.
NN3, get your magnifying glasses ready.
That's right.
All right, that is Toronto you're going to be in, Miles, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that was Sparky 107 was wanting to make sure, because some of the guys are having a little hard time hearing you, but
Oh, I'm sorry. Get up closer.
That's
Put the scare
Canada.
face on.
yeah,
That's Canada. It's Toronto. The T is
Toronto.
silent.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be next Wednesday, October the 12th, Sparky.
Yeah, that's when we'll put the tool list up. We won't be on air until
Yeah,
a week.
no, but you will. You and Fran will be in Toronto on the 12th, right? Y'all get in on the.
We're flying in on Wednesday. We're going to do the live broadcast here in Kansas City Tuesday night. We're going to go to the airport, stay in one of those park and fly whatever motels. We leave at 6 next morning and fly to Toronto, and we'll be up there for a while, and then we come back down here. This is too much information. We come in here, we pick up the car at the airport. We don't even get to come home. We're going for the family reunion to Des Moines, so we won't be home for a couple weeks.
All right, well, Sparky was reason why he's asking. I think he's right there, because he said he wanted to meet up. When and where? Toronto?
Belleville, Ontario.
All right.
We will be actually in Belleville. And
Belleville, Toronto.
If he's on my Facebook thing or whatever, send me a note and we'll get together.
All right, Sparky, Miles said if you're on his Facebook, you can send him a message. Also, Andy, let me get back up here to this. Sparky 107. Where is it? Sparky said he watches a lot. Is there any favorite spot on your layout you could show, Andy?
It's hard. Favorite's a tough thing. It's like favorite kids or something, but favorite for right now. Okay, so right now, since I've been working on this new section over here, I've been enjoying this. So I can see. I'm still working on my lighting. I'm getting ready to put the valance up. I'm really fond of this section that I've been working on through here. I'm getting ready to put the track work and road bed through it in the back. Otherwise, this is the section that I'm really getting excited about right now, which I got to put my backdrops up and cover up my wife's little artistry there. But where the twin water towers are is the division of a Y, and there's two bridges and curved bridges there in front of it. I'm just kind of planning that section out right now, so I'm rather excited about about that section there. But
Andy,
sir,
do you call those two water tanks? You call that bind junction?
yeah, it's a body and like and here in a few seconds I'll go find a picture. I'll show you guys what the real world looks like. See, the reason people do this all different, and I love to argue with people. I could just stop right there, but I love to argue with people over the methodology for building a layout, and I build from photos, so it's really hard to design a track plan, put L girder, put track, wire it, scenery, all that. I can't do it that way and truly match the photo. So I do a lot of scenery very early on in the process because it's critical for me to be able to do photo matching. If I did the track work and hand laid all this track on individual ties with tie plates, and it wasn't exactly right in the scenery, then the modification of that track work is really difficult. So in a couple seconds, I'll go find my book and I'll show you the picture of the prototype. And you can see how close I've got so far. So
In the meantime, I'm going to use my usual and bug out. Hope you guys have a good evening.
All right, Miles. Appreciate you dropping in.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Miles.
All right.
travel
bye.
safely if I don't talk to you before.
Okay.
Oh, I'll
take
see you
care.
Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday.
Take care, y'all.
All right. Bye. Sparky, I'll send Miles your email address. In next day or two, I'll be talking to him, so I'll be sure and get that to him for you. Hey, you guys out there on the chat, have anything you want to ask? Speak up.
So this is not the best way to show a picture showing a book, but there's those twin water towers split between the tracks. It has a spout on each side. It fed the NW main line through here, or this division line here, and the clinch field running behind it, and the NW sold them water. Even in 1950, there was water for sale. Everybody thinks that's a new concept, but they sold them water off their spout. Both of mine are there. So I'm excited about this new section. There's a section back here where this Y is, this division point back here that I've rather enjoyed doing. So, but my favorite thing is something to do with what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Also, Sparky 107 is asking Andy why I do hand laid track. I know I shouldn't have asked that.
Yeah, I'm obsessive. It's ridiculous for most people to headlight track, but I'm not the best artistic modeler. I'm an engineer at heart, and I'm, engineering's no problem, but I have a really hard time making plastic look like wood or something else. So flex track's okay. I don't have an argument, with microengineering flex track. That's even what I use in staging. But you can make microengineering flex track look pretty good, but it has a couple weaknesses. One is it's plastic, and it's always going to look like plastic. And the rail joints, it's really hard if you have rail joints very close together across from each other. The prototype doesn't do that, and I don't use rail jointers either for that reason. But it's really hard to get the kind of quality of track work out of flex track that you could get out of hand laid track, with all the tie plates and everything like what you'll get with this. That's wood ties, individual tie plates, bolt plates every 39 scale feet, 39 scale feet, gaps in the tops of the rails. And like I said, there's even bolt plates on the side of the rails every 39 scale feet. So it's really hard to get that kind of quality out of flex track. So there's a whole lot of reasons why. Part of it has to do with my weakness in the artistry department. I do better getting wood out of it. But I do use tie plates, individual etched tie plates that I use a jig to adhere to each side of the ties. I also headlay with glue and scale spikes or near scale, semi-scale spikes that I put in with hemostats and under magnifying glass. I'm ever so slightly picky, but I like the results, and it's a lot of trouble. It's more trouble than it's worth. If I was building a basement empire, I wouldn't try. But the thing is, if you look at these exceptional railroads, go look at George Salios, Franklin, South Manchester. That railroad is right up there with the best that have ever existed or built anywhere in the world. I mean, you count some of the German small layouts, some of the British micro layouts that are detailed to the nines, and George Salios' Franklin, South Manchester is right up there with them. However, look at the track work when you're looking at photos and video. Look at the turnouts. How there's 4 rail joiners over here, 2 over here. There's right around the turnouts. You can see that it's a model, and it doesn't take very long if you know what you're looking for. If you know the rough size of a turnout, when you glance at that, there's an instant reaction. Yes, I see the model in that. If you'll hand lay track and put the detail and put the bolt plates and do the due diligence of that work, and like I said, I model off of photos. My goal is to get it so close that you will really, really second guess yourself as to whether you're looking at a prototype or the model.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll get there, but you don't get there if you don't try.
I know Kathy Millett, one of her latest videos I saw was how to make a plastic model look like wood.
Kathy's.
Kathy, I'm gonna have a look at that. I haven't looked at it yet, but I plan to.
It's good, and she is an artist at heart, and she said that in her interview with Johnny recently. She likes the artistry side of it, which I've learned to love the artistry side of it too. If you're very artistic, you could do things with paint that are adequate enough to make up for the lack of texture that that plastic has. But with wood, you could really get the texture. Like I've taken some of these ties and dug them out from the backside and then poked them through from the front. The ties kind of rot from the inside out. And tell me how you would ever replicate that with plastic. Right. But I have ties that are damaged, that have the cuts in them, that have the driftwood effect that happens to ties as they slowly turn white. And most people think railroad ties are black, but go out and look at the prototype. Oh, they're either like a medium brown all the way down to an almost white driftwood color. That's, a brand new tie comes out and it's very close to black, brand new. If it's been out there for a week and been covered in ballast, it's not black anymore.
Concrete is no longer white after it sits a while either.
Concrete. You're better to use brown. People use white.
I've got some pictures. I've got pictures I'm going to post about that.
Yeah, and I've got some concrete that I did, and I started with a sand color.
Yeah. I'm going to break this for a second here. Sparky 107. This is a GP show. Also, after you showed the track there on the camera, he goes, "Holy cow, Batman. That is amazing work, Andy." And he also asked if your quarter's about to run out. Let me see here. The Redneck Railroad. The kits that Miles and Andy were talking about, are they going to be wood or plastic? The show this
next Tuesday.
Yeah, the week from this coming Tuesday, that will be a plastic. And we will do a posting to let you know what the kit is and about what tools, paints, and materials that you might need to do that, so you can build the kit along with Miles and Fran. So if you have questions, you can post those up in the chat while the show's going.
Next year will be a wood kit with the diorama too. We'll build the full diorama.
Evidently Sparky 107 has got a man crush on you, Andy. He just said love you, Andy.
That's because he was giving me a hard time earlier in the comments, but I can take it. I dish it out, but I can take it too.
Yeah. Well, here comes Australia. They finally got their 50 cents in the slot.
Let's quit talking about him now. He just came on.
Yeah. We got
Ralphie. What's up, Ralph?
Yeah, we got Mr. Ralph here from up in Canada there. How you doing tonight, Ralph?
I'm doing very well.
Thank you. Andrew, you doing okay?
Hey, Scout.
We can't hear you. Cannot hear you, Andrew. Put another 50 cents in to get the audio to go with the video.
Any better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a minute I thought I'd done something wrong when you were talking about me before.
How you doing today? This afternoon, I should say.
Yeah.
It's quarter to 1 in the afternoon here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Got the aircon going flat out to keep cool.
Yeah, y'all starting in the summer, aren't you?
Yep.
Ah.
Like I said, we only have 4 seasons here. Wet and damn wet, hot and damn hot.
Mm.
That's almost like up here in Canada. It's either winter or it's construction.
That's right.
So what are we talking about tonight?
You?
Oh, that's nothing unusual. You must be pretty bored then.
No, we just
Yeah,
well, we're gonna have a another kind of special show a week from this coming Tuesday. Miles is gonna be putting on. He's gonna
usually
do
good shows.
he's gonna do a build, a live build. Everybody can follow along with.
Yeah, what I'd like to see is a live airbrush demo from someone.
Oh, we might be able to conjure that up too. Okay, let's see. Big Bill, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Big Bill.
He has a question for Ralph.
Yeah.
How important is using India ink as a wash for weathering diesels?
I don't use it at all. I've never used India ink for a wash, mainly because you have no control. It's either black or it's not, and that's what the problem is. You can't wash it down even though you make the wash thinner. It's just not the same as using mineral based oils or oil paints or something like that, which because of the nature of the oil based product, it stays workable longer. Other than that, I really can't.
India ink loses its color over time too. The moisture of the air and stuff dilutes it. I like India inks for wood, but because where it can absorb into the fibrous material. But other than that, I don't prefer it either.
Exactly that.
You talking about washes. I just 5 minutes before I come on, finish watching a YouTube video on a guy doing washes on model figures. And what he does, he gives everything a gloss enamel finish to start with before he starts his washes, and he just dilutes he's painting down really thin and lets it run.
Yep.
And if he puts too much on, just puts a bit of thinners on his brush and brushes it off. Once all he's got his weathering done, then he goes and seals it with a mat.
Yes.
That's these oils, and I make these washes of oils pre-broke down in like this Payne's gray that looks kind of bluish on camera, but it's I like this color for making it dirty. It's not starch black, but it's dark, and then a white for structure kits, and I love that. And they're pre-mixed, turpentine and oil paint.
Yeah. The trick was that he pointed out that not to use a matte finish, a matte coat before you put the washers on. Otherwise, it just spreads out everywhere on the mat. If you've got a gloss, it seems to channel in the highlights that you want to do the washer on.
It depends on what you want to do, because I do everything. All my locomotives and everything are done on a matte media of some type. I don't start with a gloss or semi-gloss. So there's all different ways of doing it. Everybody has their own little way. You can't say one is better than the other. Other than what I know. But
Yeah, I think it's something you learn from experience. You practice different styles and pick the one that works best for you.
yep.
Well, there's so many techniques for weathering. There's so many mediums for weathering, from chalks to the pigments that people mistake.
And,
You know,
and
the AIM powders for chalk. They're a different medium.
Andy, can I stop you there? For weathering, you don't want to use chalks. The only chalks you're going to use, pastels, you use them on structures.
Yes, I've had the same result. They don't stick to plastic.
So, I don't know. Chalks are exactly that. They're chalks. You can't get them to stick to anything. And if you do manage to get it to stick, God forbid you touch it with your hand.
Yep.
Because you'll either take it off with your fingers or you'll leave fingerprints all over the place.
But most people think like the pan pastels of the AIM are chalks, and they're absolutely not. They're quite different products. So there's so many different mediums in weathering, and from chalk to AIM to pan pastel, they all have different properties. Not to mention different technique, but just a wide range of mediums, from acrylics to oils to the big products and the AK Interactive products that are largely oil based or solvent based.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways to weather.
Yeah, I do a lot of dry brushing. Depending on whether I want the highlights to be lighter or darker, depending on what colour I use. But the paint that I use to highlight it is normally always pretty close to what the base coat underneath is.
But you have already put a base color on.
Yeah.
And then you do your dry brushing on top of that. But somewhere along the line, you have to do a base of weathering and then highlight the edges with your dry brush.
Yeah. There's so many different techniques around for doing it, but that's why I want to see some other people doing it live on here, so I can even learn more techniques and practice them. Then I'll pick the one that works the best for me.
But I've seen some decent videos. That's what got me started. Trademaster TV had a series from Mike Confalone on weathering, where he did the oil weathering, where he did the where he put some spots of oil and then pulled it for the rust streaking effect. Yeah. And I was in love with that effect. And I've tried it. I've done it on a few cars now, and it's incredible. But that's a recorded video where people can't interact with him. So I agree. We need to get some guys, Ralph and some other skilled weather, Gino and Ralph, these couple guys that are really good at weathering, to do a live show on that, because that is a great subject material for a live show.
Yeah, Big Bill, back to Ralph, says, so your recommendation would be to use oil-based paints for your weathering.
Well, yes and no. The products that I use are AK Interactive, which are mineral based. Then I also use artist gouaches, which are water based. They're watercolors in a like a toothpaste tube. And I also use oils, artist oils. And I'll use them all on the same model. So it's not like one is better than the other. I use them in conjunction with each other. And
but a lot of the military modelers use layers of one or the other, so that they'll do a solvent-based layer, and then they'll do a water-based layer, so that the water using water as a solvent can't disturb the materials underneath it. So if you use different
most of the military guys don't use water.
No, most of it, but they'll use these different solvent-based solutions so that one solvent can't damage the solvent of the previous coat.
Well, in order to stop that, you have to use some sort of fixative. And what I found is a matte medium, an acrylic matte medium, or a semi-gloss. Right now I'm using Tamiya's products. And I'm finding I'm getting good results with them.
Yeah, one thing I use a lot, and I get good results there, it's acrylic. It's a kid studio paint, the tube. I just squirt a bit into an old film container, and a bit of acrylic thinness to thin out to whatever I want, the consistency of milk, sort of thing, and use that. And I have a good result. But then I seal everything with a clear coat to seal it before I do anything else. Then I'll build another layer and so on.
Since I started using the AK products, I've been using dull coat most of the time. But since I started using the AK products, I can't use the dull coat anymore because the mineral spirits tends to attack the dull coat. And I always coat between layers. And if you go and do another layer on top of dull coat, the mineral spirits, like I say, will attack it. It'll actually take it off if you rub on it enough. So
yeah,
I've been using acrylic. So I go acrylic, oil-based, acrylic, oil-based, acrylic, oil-based until I'm done. And the last thing I put on, like on top of my locomotives, is the soot line from your smokestack, and I do that with powders. And then I finish the whole thing off with a coat of dull coat. So my models, when they're finished weathering, you can handle them. You don't have to worry about leaving fingerprints or taking stuff off.
Okay, Ralph, my question is, why do you alternate back and forth? What's the purpose of that?
Well, if you keep using the same product, if you use a mineral-based clear or flat or whatever you want to call it to seal the work you just did, and then you add more mineral-based product on top of that, it's going to do the same thing it does to the dull coat. You're going to burn through what you just did. So by changing to acrylic, the oil-based product or mineral spirits doesn't eat through the acrylic.
Why not just acrylic only?
Because with acrylic only, you have a very short working window. When I do with the oil-based or the mineral-based, I put on my layer of grime, if that's what I'm putting on, grime or streaking grime or whatever you want to call it. I let it dry for about 20 minutes, and then I come back at it with a damp brush of mineral spirits, and I draw the streaks down.
Okay.
If that was acrylic, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have to do all the streaks right from the time I put it on.
Right. Okay.
And I'm not saying it can't be done. God, there's guys that are good at using acrylic washes and so on. I don't like them because they're too fast drying.
Fast drying. I have heard some people put something in the mixture to slow the drying down. I don't forget what the material was.
It's
like
a retarder
or something. I forget what it was now.
Yeah, it's a retarder. You can get that at most artist shops to put into acrylics. That's fine, I guess, if that's what you want to do. It depends on your idea of, or maybe you don't want the mineral spirits, the smell of mineral spirits. That it bothers people. They now have odorless mineral spirits. So the only smell you're going to get is from the AK product. Like I use the MIG ammo, and it does smell a little bit, but it's not as bad as the mineral spirits.
Yeah, I think what they that odorless is called what, terpenoid, something like that.
Not terpenoids. It's actually if you get stuff that is to replicate turpentine, you may even burn through the plastic.
Yeah, I have okay luck with terpenoid when I'm working with certain things other than plastic kits. Works fine on some of the metal, and I have no problem with terpenoid for like rock work. I've been doing some oil streaking, like getting the mineral deposits on rock work. Ron just dropped off, but he's been doing that some too, using it for that. But straight, regular turpentine for plastic kits is much better.
Ooh.
Yeah, but don't use it in your spray gun.
No.
Your airbrushes.
I use everything. I use airbrush. I use brush. The airbrush is only to apply my protective coatings.
Yeah, but I made the mistake of using mineral terps in one of my spray guns one day, and it leaves a gum behind. And I had a devil's own job cleaning it out.
It does.
Then
Yeah, and I need to have a dedicated gun for oils eventually. I'm just starting to get into airbrushing as well. And somebody mentioned doing a show talking about airbrushing, and Traymaster TV has done some shows on airbrushing recently, the primer of it, but not a lot of the use. But I would love to have some guys that are good at airbrushing show us some techniques on shows too, because that's of a lot of interest in the channel.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were kind of talking about this weather and all, Sparky 107, 107. Let's see. He says, I found oils don't weather. They don't blend. Did I do it wrong? So, you got any quick ideas there, Ralph?
As far as he's saying oils don't blend,
Yeah.
I find they blend better than acrylics do. And if you get the right oils, don't go and get the 98-cent tube of oil paints. You got to go out and buy good quality, because the better the quality, the finer the grind of color in the oil paint. And that's what you're looking for. If you don't get the fine grind, you're gonna see the granules of powder that are in the paint.
Yep. About the cheapest I've had luck with is this Master's Touch brand of oils. They're about $6 or $7 a tube. They're pretty decent for modeling. I've got some models that are like 16 or 17 bucks, and they are better when I'm doing small things like the streaking. But rock work, this is great. But there is a big difference in oil qualities. The biggest benefit with oil, supposedly, is that they mix better. It's oil on oil. They all mix together well. That's where they're supposed to excel.
So maybe that'll help Sparky out, is find out that the difference between the price of oils and their combined ability.
Oil's not cheap. You're going to spend some money on oil paint, but
Yeah.
one tube of oil paint that you spend $15 on or whatever, a tube of that stuff will last you an incredibly long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's that, Tim?
You can spend probably $10 on this brand. I don't know whether you can see that.
No.
I can't even say the name. Abteilung or whatever, it's German. Or you can go out and get Winsor Newton Artisan colors.
I like Windsor, dude.
Winsor Newton has good fine particulate in the paint itself, and the ones I use are water mixable oils. So it almost sounds like an oxymoron, like it's oil paint, but you can use water to clean your brush. You can use water to thin it, or you can use mineral spirits.
But to do the streaking effect, you've still got to use the mineral spirits or turpentine to get that streak, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I've been doing with turpentine too. I haven't tried it with water, but.
All right. Tim's been trying to jump in. What's that, Tim?
For cleaning your airbrushes, has anybody ever tried naphtha?
It also leaves a residue.
Does it?
Yep. If you're okay with it, I mean, it's all personal preferences. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
And naphtha, which is basically lighter fluid, leaves a residue because it doesn't evaporate cleanly. The biggest problem with that is the lighter fluid you buy is of a fairly low quality. If you get naphtha from a laboratory, I used to work at a lab that sampled soil and mineral analysis and water sampling. We got naphtha that was 99-point-something% pure. It's good. It evaporates cleanly, but it's the impurities in it that are so rough on commercially available naphtha.
But you also have to be careful because it's very, very flammable.
Well, it's lighter fluid. You better believe it. That it's good.
All you have to do is think about a flame and it'll light.
You don't want to smell it.
Greek fire.
Anyway, here's a photograph of the engine that I did for Joe Fugate, and it was done strictly with oils. And the AK products.
Nice.
Or MIG ammo, whatever you want to call it.
Nice.
So all that streaking was done with oils, and you load up the louvers with the wash or the product, and you just leave it there. You let it dry there. But the rest of it, it's all brushed down with a damp brush to get the streaks.
How'd you do the trucks?
I take them apart completely. So I take the side frames off. I use a Rust-Oleum product called, what the hell's the name of it now? They have a camouflage line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the dark brown, it's almost a chocolate brown, is the base that I start with. And then I use washes, which are the watercolor, and I apply them with a sponge, a makeup sponge. So you're not going to see any brush strokes on there at all. And then for the bearing journals, it's a shiny oil product, or even a future floor finish will do it as well. It'll give you that shine, make it look like grease. As long as you put in a little bit of black, it'll make it shiny.
What do you add to get that shine? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
It's a product that Johnson & Johnson used to sell called Future Floor Finish.
Oh yeah, I've used that to put ballast down with.
Okay. It's a natural acrylic.
Yeah.
Apparently they don't make it under the Future name anymore. Apparently now it's called Pledge something, but it's still made by Johnson & Johnson. And
Yeah, it got bald, but it's supposedly the same formula. Jim Lincoln, yeah, he was on here on our channel once, but he does, he talks on several of the podcasts, Modern Railroad Hobbyist podcast, several others. Jim Lincoln uses that floor wax to put down ballast, and I tried it to do for using it for ballast, and it's an interesting way to do it. I don't know if it's my favorite, but that's an interesting solution, interesting chemical.
I'm not sure. It doesn't dry very quickly, so I'm not sure I'd want to use it to do ballast because your ballast will end up shiny.
Well, and you have to matte finish it after the fact. You have dual coat. I dual coat mine anyway.
Why do you
fill up my powder?
Why do it twice?
Well, the only reason, I don't know exactly why he does it. I think a lot of the reason is because of the weight. It holds the ballast down instead of floating it. Although I know this is not a discussion on ballast, but I found a better technique for ballast by using dry polymer adhesive. So I mix that into my ballast, and then I spray it with alcohol, and it dries rock hard.
You still have to put a wetting agent.
No, just water. All I spray it with is alcohol, which is the way to gauge it.
That's your wetting agent.
I don't use a liquid glue. I mix the glue into the ballast as a dry adhesive. So the adhesive is in the ballast when I put it down. And then
another little trick there on the truck, if you notice it on the top edge, like in here, in this area.
Yeah.
You take a kid's pencil, an HB pencil, and you run it over the edge, and then rub it with your finger.
To get that ward look, that slightly shiny metal ward look, is that what you do?
Metallic look.
Wow.
That really makes it pop.
Well, that's easy to get with to be able to use a pencil for that. Kathy Millett's video that she dropped last night or the night before showed using a material not from AK Interactive or Big, but another company. It's a dry powdered solution that gives that shiny metal surface that she applied with her finger. She put it on some metal machinery, but it's getting that same effect, and a pencil's easy.
Where the hell did it go? Where did it go?
With
Maybe
that one.
It has that product as well. Oh shit!
I hadn't heard of it before she showed it off just a day or two ago, so it's weird that you mentioned that. But she used it on machinery to get that ward edge that happens on the edges of, where people are walking by and you're wiping machinery down and cleaning it. It slowly wears the paint off and exposes that shiny underlying metal.
Well,
look at that.
Has a powder they call gunmetal, and that's probably what she was using.
Yeah, look at the fuel drills.
Look at that photograph for a second, and you tell me if you can see that's a model or a real engine.
That's my argument.
The ballast job is great. The rusty rails. Where's the rail joiners, Andy?
That's what I'm arguing. Well, I mean, that's a short piece of track too, but that's what I'm saying with modeling in general. It's entirely possible to get this stuff to the point where it's so close to looking like a photo or looking like the real thing that you can't tell. You can't.
It looks like the real thing. It really does.
Absolutely.
Except for the KD couplers.
And
Exactly.
those trees in the background aren't convincing at all, though.
Or the high tension
There's no
poles.
trains in the background.
I bet.
And that background looks totally fake.
That's beautiful. You did a nice job on that, Ralph.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's what the MIG ammo product. It comes. It's in the pigment section.
Yep.
And it's number 3009.
And she did it like you were talking about. She put it on with her finger, then rubbed it to
But
kind of
you see,
polish it.
If you put it on with your finger, you have too much of too broad of a brush to be painting with your finger,
Oh, okay.
right? And it's hard to get it just on the edge when you use your finger. So if you use an actual
Micro brush.
that pencil, that's a solid piece of graphite, HB, with paint on the outside of it, so you don't get the graphite on your hands. But
Sure.
that's graphite from the whole cone is graphite,
Oh, okay.
right?
Rub that on your rails.
You can do that, but I use it for doing my trucks and things like that. Anything I want to make look metallic.
I wonder if you could just shave this up, because I got these graphite blocks that I use on my track work. Dwight does as well. It's electrically conductive, good for cleaning the track work and polishing the track. I wonder if you could shave this down and get a graphite powder that you could put on with a micro brush.
What does it say on it? What grade of graphite is it?
Well, the only ones these have, I have like a soft, medium, and hard. That's all they are. Graphite, soft,
So what does
medium,
it
and
say
hard.
on there?
This one says medium, just says graphite stick, medium. And this one's beat up from cleaning the rails. It's got, a bunch of dig stuff
So
in it.
it's probably H or better. You want to go to the B side, which is the softer side.
Yeah, well, and I have a softer one too, but the medium is my favorite for doing the track work trick, which again, I stole from somebody. It's not my idea. Trevor Marshall talked about doing it this way, and it makes a huge difference in so many ways. It's a good cleaning agent. It's a good polishing agent. It leaves a really nice color to the tops of the rails. It's electrically conductive, but it also makes the rails slick, which is something I personally like because these locomotives pull too much, and I want as an operator to have to work a little harder to get the job done.
Okay, so here's a question for you then. You're putting it on the top of your rails. You're laying it directly on the rail, flat.
Yep, rubbing it kind of back and
And
forth.
you're just rubbing it along. Okay.
Yep.
But when you look at the geometry of the wheel and the track, the wheels don't sit flat like that.
No, they do
Wheels
this.
sit like this.
Yeah.
So
So a person needs to polish
you're putting graphite where the wheels aren't touching.
Well, okay, so model rails are a little funny because of the electrical reason. Our model rails are not shaped well enough like the prototype. That's
Still only riding on that little ribbon. I'll bet you that edge, there's not very much graphite at all.
so I wonder if for the purpose of weathering the track and stuff. Okay, so a couple things. One, what a person ought to do is the way Trevor did turnouts, which is to take the stick and turn it at an angle and pull it away in the turnouts. That way he doesn't rip his points out by doing this, doing this business. He damage your points. So put it at an angle, pulling it on the inside flange way of the rail. If that's the case, then should not a person weather up around the top nose of the head of the rail on the outside? I haven't done that, but it might. Well, all I've done on mine is paint them and then just wipe that streak right off the edge of the top edge of the rail. But a person ought to leave a little weathering on the outside edge of the rail too.
Well, you know what I find works best for cleaning your rail after you've painted it? Whatever paint you're using, you find out like if it's mineral based, then you use mineral spirits, but have a piece of masonite, the hardboard.
Yeah, that's what I've used to. And homicide.
And it's not homosote. Masonite, the hardboard stuff.
Yep.
And use the rough side of it, and drop it and get it soaked with mineral spirits. So now you can lay it on top of the rails flat like you do your graphite, and the mineral spirits will help you get the paint off where you need it.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is I spray mine with Rust-Oleum that camo, that dark brown camo color. It's super flat. It sticks pretty good. It does take 2 coats, but it sticks pretty good. I spray it, give it maybe 4 or 5 minutes because it dries pretty quick, and then just wipe the surface off with a scrap of Homa soap, and it just like flakes that surface off pretty good. But it's not clean. That's just enough. And then once the paint is fully set up, then I'll be coming back with denatured alcohol on a pad. And I used Masonite years ago. We used to strap them to the bottom of box cars with 2 springs and make that little cleaning car with a block of Masonite.
I still do, except I put a piece of lead weights on the Masonite.
Yeah. You got to weight the crap out of it, and then use a couple of ink pen springs and 2 big screws. And I mean, you can buy those cleaning cars that are $160, and nothing against them. They're great. You can put a solution in them that will, drop out. They're a great thing, but I have not seen the need to invest $160 in that when I can make it for $1 in parts, if that.
Wait till you get operating. Right now, you were saying the other night you wanted to get that layout so that you had a loop.
Yeah, I'm close.
When you get your loop, we'll see what you say about cleaning your track after that.
I know that there's no doubt cleaning track is always going to be a problem. I was a member of a huge club, and cleaning track was a problem. We built a bunch of those cars, and we ran them. And I may buy one of those tank cars. Looks like a brass piece of equipment, but $160. I don't care to spend the $160 to buy it once I see the need for it.
Yeah,
Cool.
John's got one that's the tank car now. He didn't spend $160 on it. But the problem with it is I can't get it to flow yet.
It's got a little small needle valve in there.
Yeah, I know. I've opened it up all the way, and that pad's still bone dry.
What are you using? What liquid are you using?
The cleaning fluid that came with the car.
We always used denatured alcohol. I don't know about with this car, but years ago we just took a piece of Masonite, soaked it in denatured alcohol, and cleaned it.
When I got my car, there was no liquid with it. They suggested a number of things.
Yeah.
What do you? So you used the clay, the salt.
I haven't used it yet, but I have one.
Yeah.
Well, when you get operated and running trades, you'll know about cleaning track. No.
Well, I already know about cleaning track. That's why I say I have the Masonite turned upside down with weights on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have a bunch of those. And me and Johnny went and visited a guy's layout some months ago. Norm Stitzel has a really nice layout you can look up on YouTube. I should have put that video up that me and Johnny kind of cut some video while we were there, and I haven't put it up yet. But if you look for Norm Stitzel's Brandywine and Benedictine Railroad down in the greater Georgia area, there's several people posted videos of his layout. But every one of his cabooses have a pad under them, which adds resistance to pull the trade back, which is okay. I don't like it from a prototype standpoint. I just don't like it. But he does that and runs that on all of his trades, so they're always running a dry pad to slowly clean the track. He says he doesn't have to actively clean the track very much at all. So
He's right. I think it's once a year I clean my track with a bright board.
Bright boys scare me. I used to use them too, but God, I've heard so much talk about the abrasive. But they've worked for years. A lot of people have used them.
I told you what to do the other night. You go out and buy yourself a 3-inch stainless steel washer.
Right.
Epoxy it to a block of wood and go over the top of your rails with it when you're after you've cleaned it with a bright board.
I've done that.
When I got this pad, this is in the plastic bottle section of a hobby shop or something. It's 1600 grit sandpaper block. Looks like a pencil eraser. It's bendable. It's 1600 grit. So I cleaned the rail basically. I paint the rail. I put the tie plates on. I cut the scores in the rail and everything before I put it on the ties. And then once I put it down, and I've made my butt joints that I make because I don't use rail joints. Made my butt joints, put my bolt plates over top of those, got everything right. Then I come back with this thing and polish anywhere I had to file, anywhere I had any material, and I polish the top of the rail so it's just bare shine on that slim. But I lay it flat so it's just that little slim surface.
I still use the washer after that.
I agree. I'm going to give that a shot. I totally see where you're coming from. I think that's a great tip. I haven't tried it yet.
If there are any gouges from sanding or filing or whatever that you don't see, or you missed with your 1600 block there,
Yeah.
at least it closes them up a little bit.
Because this won't take nothing down. You got to take a file and do some damage.
Oh,
all this will do is take any little scratches and pits and all that stuff and make it perfectly mirror finish smooth. But you've got to take a file, around all your points. And I've got, I use cast manganese frogs and point rails and all those joints and all that rail there. You've got to file that sub. So to get it mirror shine, I use this little block, which is great, but I like the washer idea.
All right, Sparky, 107, we'll see you later. He's said he's going to bed. They liked the show. Said they had a lot of good topics.
See you, Sparky.
And Gary from Train Room Gary, he just popped in. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, Gary.
How's Gary doing?
Hopefully, John, that helped you out. They just finished talking about using, Andy was using a 1600 grip type polishing pad, and Ralph was showing off his stainless steel washer. He epoxy to a piece of wood for polishing his rail.
That seems like an original idea. I've
Yeah,
never heard anybody else do that, but it's a good idea.
I used Goo Gone.
What you got, Ralph?
This is a honing stone for
But
razors you use for your shaving and so on.
Yep.
So I've mounted it on a block, and I also use this. So when I've got my rails butted together, instead of filing it, I'll use this to get the edges down, and then I use the stone or the washer.
I like that a lot better. I've got to go buy a holding stone. That makes sense because a file leaves some kind of elongated pits that are a little harder to straighten up. So I kind of file in a circular motion so it slowly takes those out. But with a holding stone, you can just do it.
Use the fine side, as fine as you can get it.
Yep, I've tried that, Ralph. The results are not in yet, but I'm still wondering how well it worked.
Okay, well, on top of that, use the stainless steel washer.
I did that too. I do that too. I also do that.
You'll be happy.
Yeah. Or there's always the guy that uses transmission oil and he hasn't cleaned his track in a year and it still runs fine.
Yeah, I've heard that. The other thing I have is no oxid. It's a paste that. Who the hell was it used to sell it?
It's for clothes cleaning or something, laundry, that no-ox stuff or something.
Bar Mills used to sell it, but now you can get it at any electronics store. No oxid. And it's a paste, and you put it on your finger, and you just rub it on a piece of rail. It's about 6-10 inches long, and let the wheels take it along, right? There's a buddy of mine who runs an N-scale layout, and he's probably got... I would say about 250 foot of main line, and he cleans his rails once a year, and he operates every other week or sometimes once a month during the summer.
Now that helps. The best track cleaning is just to run your layout often enough. The worst thing you can do is not run trains. So.
Right. So the pad underneath the car, even though it doesn't look prototypical,
I know.
You run it around when you are playing with your trains, but when somebody else comes, you take it off.
Now they got those little wipers. I've seen a few people build, or maybe even somebody make it, that you put under the truck, and then put a washer on one truck that comes over and has a very small pad that comes under the truck, over between the other wheels, and has a little bit of a spring so you can have some resistance. And then on the other truck, go the other way. That wouldn't bother me so bad.
That's a dust bunny.
That's what it was, dust bunny.
No, that's what they call it, dust bunnies.
Okay.
They do sell them. They clip onto the axle of the wheels.
Yeah.
And it pulls it along just to help pick up, any little bit of grit that might be there. Dirt.
Yeah, I knew I'd seen those. That wouldn't bother me. I mean, electrical contacts under passenger equipment and illuminated cabooses, That don't bother me. That's okay. It's that big old doggone pad under a caboose that just, if I'm just turning the train on and letting it run around, that's fine. But under general circumstances, that would get on my nerves.
God, I wished I knew where the box was. Have you guys ever seen the Lorem track grinding train?
Yeah.
Oh, the prototype, yeah.
Yeah.
The prototype.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tried to build a track cleaning car instead of a grinder. So I took an EP38 and I built the engine the way it was on the main thing, but there was no way that I was going to be able to do the track grinding cars that they had. So I built in, you've probably seen one of those little vacuums that you can use to clean your computer, battery operated things.
Yeah.
So I put in a 12-volt motor in it, DC, fix it up off the track. I put a decoder in it so that I can turn the vacuum on and off. I got a grinder car, which basically has the pad underneath it, which we talked the masonite, and then the caboose. And geez, I can't.
So how do you point the nozzle? I love the idea of the vac car because I have to shop vac the track some, and it's rough on static brass stuff. But how would you because the nozzle needs to be really down there tight on those little vacs to do much damage. You don't have a lot of suction distance.
I built it out of styrene.
So you just made a little nozzle that drops right down where it needs to.
A V-shaped flat cone sort of thing.
Sure.
And I ducted it to the intake of the vacuum cleaner, which was
pull that as the last car in the trade. So you're just cleaning everything up and then pulling it and backing a little bit.
Yep.
That's a good idea. And of
course, it sits on a siding when I have people over here, so it's not being used. But when I want to clean my track, that's what I do. Go around with that first.
Well, I've got an old SW1200 Atlas. It's heavy. It's well powered. It's a good locomotive, but I've had it for a long time, and it's too late era wise for my current layout. But it's going to be a great locomotive to power a cleaning trade. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the trouble of putting a decoder in it. No sound. I'm just going to put a plain decoder. I'm going to rip the shell off from it. Just put the decoder on. I'm not going to build the metal or anything like that. It's just a cleaning trade. And build a trade for cleaning track. But a vac car on a flat car, a vacuum on a flat car makes a lot of sense to add to that assortment.
Exactly.
Yeah, Big Bill.
Staging on a short track.
Yeah, Big Bill has put up here, monkey pads sprayed with electrical condition is how he does it. Clean the track.
He uses what?
Monkey pads.
Okay.
So I guess you could say he's just kind of monkeying around when he's cleaning.
Okay, I was gonna say but it's nice to have a monkey to clean your track, but you've got all the cost of feeding that monkey all the time just to be able to clean the track.
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by. Okay, hang on.
Oh, he's using a spray contact cleaner.
Yeah.
Monkey pad spray with electrical conditioner. Yeah, contact cleaner is great because it's electrically conductive, obviously. So
yeah.
All I know is his windows are sure nice and clean.
Don't know what a monkey pad is, but
my only concern with electrical cleaner, and I'd have to test it and see, but I have to be careful with the solutions that I use on my as my cleaning process. So, like denatured alcohol, like I used to use years ago, it damages the paint and damages the glue that holds my rails down and holds my bolt plates on. So, if I did use it, I couldn't use very much of it. If it got wet, it would degrade the glues that hold everything together.
All the more reason to use the standard white glue.
Oh, not for rail. I can't put glue. I can't put rails down with white glue.
Why not?
You can't glue rail to metal tie plates with white glue, metal on metal with white glue.
You're not using. You're using either solder to PC ties.
Nope.
You're using spikes to wooden ties.
Nope. I use contact cement diluted with MEK.
Oh wow.
I make a contact cement paste. I use contact cement to glue the rails down. The way Central Valley recommends doing some of their products, like their bridges and some of that stuff, which they have some spikes too, but it's the Proto 87 method of putting it down using contact cement. So
Yeah, Big Bill said he got it from Woodland Scenics, the monkey pads.
and Woodland Sinks has that little thing on a stick too.
Yeah.
Tiny track.
Yeah.
That's great for going into tunnels.
Yep. Or under a bridge, or into a bridge service, because you can kind of push it back in there with a stick. That would work good. Now my ballast is not coming up with anything you put down. It's concrete and latex adhesive, so it's not coming up. You could soak it into natured alcohol, and you'd have a hard time getting it up because it's got concrete in it.
And those electrical contact cleaners, some of that stuff is a solvent based, and it is strong stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it eats through latex gloves and nitrile gloves.
Yep.
That's what I was afraid of. This contact cement that I use is strong. I mean, it's stout. I would have never thought. I thought I was going to have to spike at least fairly often. So far, I've done this section from here all the way right through here, and there's a couple spikes sitting at the rail joints, but that's it, and it hasn't moved in a year. And I picked it up, carried it around, and everything, and it's not moved. So.
Yeah, Trey Man Gary made a comment. Some of those track cleaning solvents can be hard on traction wheels. Okay, he does O-gauge.
On the rubber tires, obviously, yes.
Yeah, okay, he does O-gauge 3-rail.
Yeah, contact cleaner can be.
And I would get rid of traction tires. If I had traction tires, I'd get rid of them and put that buffalo snot on in their place.
It's basically the same thing. It's going to be affected by those harsh chemicals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it probably would be too. I've heard good things about that buffalo snot, but my problem on my leg is pulled too well. They get too good a traction.
Jim was trying to tell you, Andy, it's bullfrog snot.
Oh, what I call it?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Okay, it's some critter snot, whatever it is.
Did you eat at Wild Wings today?
Yeah, same thing. Some kind of snot, whatever it is. That's pretty good stuff, so I hear, though, but...
I know I use, and the club I'm in uses Goo Gone.
Goo Gone? Yeah. But that kind of leaves a residue as well.
Yeah, I noticed that myself.
So, if you use the Goo Gone, and because that's what I started to use at the beginning, if you take one of those cars that has a masonite pad under it, you get rid of that film that's left behind by the Goo Gone.
Mm-hmm. I thought about building a track clean car out of one of my old Tyco cars or something. Take an old Tyco tank car or an old box car and making one. But I was just thinking, first could take a well car or a auto rack, be nice heavy cars, and be close to the ground. You wouldn't really see the masonite board because they're low clearance.
A well car would work great for it. Depending on your curve radius, a big 89-foot auto rack might give you another problem where it would want to come overhang something. Your pad would have to be fairly wide to deal with, curve radius is sub 30 something inches. Yeah. But a well car seems perfect for that.
But it's kind of low to begin with, so you got to be careful. You may have to put shims between the car itself and the trucks in order to get the pad to sit properly underneath.
If it was me, I'd use a 40-foot. If it's me, I'd use a 40-foot box car or maybe a caboose, but a 40-foot, a short box car, so that if you're on tighter radiuses, it's going to stay centered and you can use a narrower pad under it. And the box gives you a good place to hide a whole lot of weight to keep that car firmly planted, because it's got that pad under there. The ones we used to build, even though they're sprung and everything, they want to pick points and things like that a little bit. They want to bounce some, so you gotta lay the weight to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, see, you could take. I was saying you could take the well car and add the pads to either end of it, not in the center, but to either end of it. Have one wet, have one dry, and you can load your weight in your shipping containers.
That's cool.
That's the lower M engine that I did from a GP38.
I've seen one of those online as a track cleaning unit.
There's all kinds of YouTube videos on the real thing grinding the cars. And there was one night I was online with, I don't know whether you guys know Ed Traxler. He's really heavy into 3D modeling, like 3D stuff from Shapeways.
Yep.
The caboose, on the back end of the caboose, they have fire hose nozzles like you would see on the top of a ladder truck. So you get this long stream of water. Well, they do it so that they can put fires out that the grinders start along the road. So they have a tank car that fits in between, plus about 4 or 5 grinder cars. And of course the tank car is connected to the caboose that has the nozzles that sprays the track afterwards.
I've also seen some people put track cleaning cars take a dummy locomotive, you know, so it looks like, and they put the track cleaning, well, however you do it, like masonite under a dummy locomotive.
Yeah.
You got the weight, lots of room to work with. You don't need a motor in there, so you got a lot of room to attach things to, and it hides it because the fuel tanks hide the pad.
And it tracks well. I mean, the trucks and the weight makes it track real well.
And it tracks well, yeah.
Somebody came out with a box car that had 2 motors in it that sat vertically, and they had buffing wheels on it, and those 2 wheels sat right over top of your tracks.
I remember seeing those.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Cost about $150, but
You replace the pads all the time.
well, it would take you into areas that you can't really clean properly.
Right.
Like most, except for what I've got in tunnels and so on, I can get at most of my tracks, but I can't get in tunnels.
Yeah, right.
Now, I've also seen guys attach magnets to the bottom of their cars for picking up stray debris.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's on my vacuum car. Because I found with having the Kato sound cars that have the speaker in the gas tank, the magnet in the speaker tends to attract any loose metal that's in the track. Sure. And I lifted up the car one day and there was 3 spikes there.
Now you're like, oh great, now I gotta go find out where my spikes are messing at.
So one of the things that I did to try and counteract any damage that these spikes can do is I stole a pair of pantyhose from my wife, and I made these screens fit between the speaker and the fuel shell, like the fuel tank shell, so that it's like a screen, so it stops any debris from actually making contact with the speaker.
So they didn't have a screen over the speakers to begin with? They were just straight speaker to the base?
Just straight speaker.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have the grill part of the fuel tank on the bottom is made like a grill for the sound to come out.
Yeah. I would have figured they'd had some kind of foam pad between it and the speaker at least.
Or even one of those, what do they call them? The dryer sheets that you throw in your laundry. You can cut a bit. That'll do the same thing. Paint it black.
Sure. And that would make sense to cover that up. But that's a good idea. I mean, building we've talked about track cleaning cars. People talk about those quite a bit, but the idea behind having a small trade put together, stuck on a little siding and staging that has a set of cars that do a certain set of jobs, like vacuuming and a magnet and a dry pad and that whole kind of assortment would probably do a person good. And while it costs a little money to buy, some of those, like the cleaning car, like we've said before, like I've used to explain my justification for headland track or some of this other. You pay for everything with one thing or the other. You pay for with money or labor. So you either pay with money to buy some of that equipment, or you pay with labor, standing in here for 6 hours rubbing track with a stick or whatever.
Well, I wanted to save myself the trouble of cleaning constantly, so I designed this train to modeled after this thing. There's those nozzles that they put the fires out with.
Oh, that's cool. Way too modern for my era.
But Loram, and it's funny because I put Loram decals on my engine. I contacted them and asked them if I could use the name on the model. And the guy that I got, I forget his name now, he said, absolutely no problem. He says, but if you're going to make one of those things, he says, make a second one for me. But they have all kinds of different shit, right?
Amazing how many people in the prototype railroad world are modelers as well. You would think they'd be tired of it every day, but there's a lot of prototype railroaders that are modelers too.
Well, what was it DJ said? It's kind of a taboo to work in the railroad industry and be a modeler at the same time, but there's a lot of them that do it.
Yeah,
Split Rock does that. He's an engineer.
Yep.
Jim Lincoln, you know, he did say there's a bit of a taboo where they don't talk about it. Something, you know, kind of which comes back to a point kind of Lionel Strang has made quite a few times. I've heard him say this a lot. He said, you know, model railroaders are like MI6, you know, it's all kind of secret. You've known somebody for years and then you come to find out they're a model railroader. So he said it's like being a part of MI6.
Make a comment about trains and they go, oh, really? And then you find out after how many years you knew them and you didn't really know them because now you're finding out they're in the hobby as well.
Yep. Because it's this little secret, you know, you got your little secret bat cave, your little lair in your basement or whatever that you model in, and you know, they kind of treat it as a solo thing, which is something I think so awesome about this community is it brings back a social aspect of the hobby that used to be really common but has been slowly degrading. A lot of people say the hobby is dying. I think the biggest casualty of the hobby lately is the social aspect. People are doing a lot more modeling in private or solo, and part of that has to do with the size of layouts, but part of that has to do with the disconnected society in general. But that's one of the great things that this community does is I'm not a lone wolf model.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I used to do a lot of I go and give clinics at different shows and so on, and I used to do the Ottawa Train Expo quite a bit, and it was in May, June, roughly. And the whole Ottawa area, the guys have what they call the Ottawa Valley Ottawa Valley Association of Railroad Modelers.
Yeah.
Railroaders or something like that, OVAR. Well, most of those guys are also members of the NMRA, which I am as well. And I tried to get a list of the layouts in my area from the NMRA, and I couldn't get it. They wouldn't release the information. They said it's private information. If the guys who own the layouts want to give it out, that's fine, but we can't give it out. Well, here's the OVAR guys. The last time I was there for the NMRA convention for the local NFR division. My buddy Chris Lyon, he pulled out a 6-page, what do you call it, sheets with a list, a 6-page list of all the guys in the area, the scale they model in, the layout, name, size, and there was other information, their address or email addresses and stuff like that. No problem. They give it out freely to their members. But the NMRA, forget it.
Yeah.
Now, we have a hang up of privacy in this country, and it's not real privacy, it's a delusion of privacy. But You know, I want to be more connected to other modelers. You know, anytime I'm going to travel for work, I get on the community here and reach out to other modelers. You know, anytime I'm in an area, anytime I'm in any of your all's area, I'm going to reach out to the community and, you know, try to take one of you out to lunch or something, you know, and meet, you know, talk trades for a few minutes. So,
But you shouldn't have to do that, because, if you know you're going to, I don't know, Salem, uh, whatever, North Carolina, and you know you're going to be in the area, you should be able to go on the NMRA site and find out who's there and
email them.
who has their layout, so that you can visit, or at least a name and a number that you can contact to say, can I come and see you? 9 out of 10 times they're going to say yes. But why?
Let me interrupt for a second, Andy.
Sir.
You want to watch the Q&A? I got to pop out for a second.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I don't know. I think we talked about it the other night. The NMRAs either going to have to pull up their socks, or they're going to be history.
Everybody knows that, and I'm an NMRA member as well. But they've been, a lot of people have tried to tell them, and not just regular casual people, but people in the industry that have been in the industry a long time have tried their best to tell the NMRA that they're going to have to realize the internet's not a fad. It's not going away. You know, I tried to contact Charlie Getz and ask him about putting out the magazine in electronic form, and he says no, it can't be done. Yeah, and a lot of people
myself, it can be done. First of all, just to do it the way they do it, they have to have somebody that writes the articles, proofreads it, puts it together before it goes into print. And at that point is where it gets different. Either it goes to e-publication or it goes to hardcover or hard copy. Right?
In my opinion, hard copy is a lot harder to produce than electronic in my world.
Why?
Half the time they're already in electronic version anyway before they go to the publisher.
Exactly.
Like
they produce it electronically.
Exactly.
Model Railroader is electronic before it goes to the publisher.
Yep.
And their argument back to me was that it's the same cost whether we put it out electronically or we put it out in hard copy. And I'm thinking to myself, really? You put it out electronically, you put it on your website.
Yep.
For members only.
If you don't pay a publisher.
Hard copy, now you have to print it on paper.
Mail it.
You have to pay for mailing. So how can it be the same?
And think about people submitting renewals and paying and all that stuff the way the NMRA does, where you have to mail them a check or you do it manually. Somebody has to input all that stuff. Whereas if you use an internet, anyway, yes, they should adapt. And some of the regions do. And I'll tell you what, it's costing them more to do it on hard copy. It's costing all these magazines like Railway Model Craftsman, Railroad Model Craftsman, RMC, great magazine, one of my favorites. Love that magazine. It's the only magazine I don't get right now because I don't want the hard copy. I don't want to store it or have to deal with it. I still get Model Railroader. Of course, I read Model Railroad Hobbyist. I get, numerous publications that I look at every month. But if they don't make it electronic, I'm not interested. I don't want to deal with dead tree.
Okay. See?
So, we were talking about these well cars. This one right here weighs out at 276 grams right now.
And you can put all kinds of weight in those containers.
So that's, well, I've got a weight inside one. I've got two heavy these are the ones that I've got magnetized together.
Yep.
There's a steel plate in one and two neodymium magnets in the other.
Yep.
That's probably plenty of weight to put a masonite pad down there on the bottom of that thing.
And it's a short enough car. And it's a short enough car that on any reasonable radius, it wouldn't overhang in the center. What's the length on a prototype length on a well car? 70 feet, something of that range?
Depends on what size tank car you're talking about.
I mean, on that well car, it holds a
shipping-
53-foot container, so it has to be
Yeah.
something in the range of 70 feet. The reason I've said that people should use a 40-foot box is that if they're using tighter radius, like 18, or my minimum radius is 30, so I don't have that big a problem. Even I could use pasture equipment to do it, but for people with tighter radiuses, a 40 or 50-foot box reduces the chance of overhang in the middle of the curve, which you'd have to have a wider pad to account for. On my layout, it wouldn't be a problem.
This thing is for 48-foot containers.
Right,
It's,
53s have to be on top.
Yeah, it's Walther's train line.
Is that the
I'm sorry,
metal
ready
one?
to run? It's the
Is
metal one.
That's the one
It's
to
got
have.
good weight to start with.
Yeah. So then, my containers themselves are 148. So this thing's about 128 grams itself in the car.
How many grams is in an ounce? I can't remember how many grams.
I can tell you how many ounces this thing weighs.
Okay, because I've been weighing mine by ounce, and most of my cars are running 10 to 13 ounces.
9.7 ounces total.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That it's above NMRA. NMRA would call for 6 or something. I'm having better luck with like 2 times NMRA weight. It gives me realistic operation of the motive power with a reasonable length train. So a 30-car train responds and acts realistically with that extra weight. It gets moving slower, it's harder to stop, and it tracks better, and it doesn't rock as bad. It just works better for me to weight the crap out of cars.
Now this one's the Atherin.
They're plastic though, right?
Yeah. And with the shipping containers on it, it comes out to be 7.7, exactly 7 ounces.
But on the magazine thing, Trader of Gary said that he likes the hard copy over the electronic, and says more people will read the hard copy and leave it on the kitchen table or the shop, and a visitor will look at it. Not electronic, they need a computer to read. And I'll grant you that that's true. And there's a certain demographic of people who have read hard copy most of their life and are more comfortable with it. And it's not an ageist thing. It's just certain people, like, regardless of age, prefer the hard copy. My suggestion is to do it the way Model Railroader has, where they have both, or the way Model Railroad Hobbyist is done, where they have electronic and you could print it if you wanted to, but it's free if you get it electronically, so it's a better suit. My argument is that if you only come out in hard copy, you're eliminating a whole group of people. And I don't read on a computer very often, but I got this thing with me all the time. So I can get stuck on the road or be at work or whatever, and I can read the latest Model Railroader magazine. Railroad Model Craftsman does not have that capability, so I just can't read it.
I get it on my Kindle. I had to change some settings on my Kindle to be able to get the Model Railroader on it.
Yeah.
Because of the Zydio app does not want to work natively with Kindle.
Yep.
But,
now, you can hack your Kindle. I had a Kindle some years ago. I won one at a convention, and I put a regular full-blown Android on it, and it's just as capable as any other Android tablet. But I have an iPad. I love my iPad. And while I would say that a computer is fine for a lot of things, I'm an IT guy by trade, so a computer is essential for my livelihood. But when I'm at home, or when I'm reading a magazine, or when I'm reading Model Railroad Hobbyist, I'm doing it on my iPad or possibly on my phone, not on a computer. And very few people don't have smartphones these days. There's 300 million adults in the United States, 270 million of them have smartphones. So
I called Walther's because I couldn't get the app, or not Walther's, but Model Railroader, Kallenbach Books, because I couldn't get the app to work. They walked me through changing the settings that I needed to change to get the app to work with the Kindle.
Boy, that was awesome of them. That's way over the top.
At the time, I was also paying for the MR Video Plus, my digital subscription, and my magazine, the print subscription.
Yeah, I just get it electronically. I don't even get the print anymore of Model Railroader. I do keep the electronic, and I know a lot of people have canceled their Model Railroader subscription, but I've had a Model Railroader subscription for 30 some years. I'm not hardly ready to let go of that yet, so I still get it. I pay for Model Railroad Academy and for Trademaster TV video content. I love my Trademasters. That's one thing I absolutely not giving up is my Trademaster TV subscription. That's my favorite by far. The only one I don't pay for is Model Railroad Video Plus. And I did for a little while, and they just didn't have enough content. They just weren't dropping new content often enough for me.
They've gotten better about it here lately, but I don't like the way it's billed. I'd rather be able to pay for it all up front every year. But the way they had it set up, it was coming out like 42 cents every month or something like that, or $1.42 every month to pay for it.
Yeah.
I can't always guarantee the funds in my account because I live paycheck to paycheck.
Don't we all?
Come through.
Don't we all, brother? I like the micro payments myself, though. Like Model Railroad, Trademaster TV has a pay by the year, pay every, 2 years or something in a bulk payment. That's not a problem for me, but I've got to remember to do that. But I know that I've got to pay that $5 a month, and I just keep up with it. But
they also have
a
special deals on where you can get 6 extra months for the cost of whatever.
I know. I just got to remember it. It's only a few dollars saving. I like paying month to month, but I see the point, Gary. I see the benefit of having both hard copy and electronic, so that you reach both audiences, especially since a big group of model railroaders are older fellows that don't want to look at a computer, that want to sit down and look at a magazine, especially in our hobby. Still having a print publication totally makes sense to me. My only argument against the NMRA, especially the NMRA, and to a lesser degree Railroad Model Craftsman, is that if you're going to do paper, which is fine, it makes sense, but you should do electronic additionally. Why not do that?
You're isolating the whole next generation coming up if you don't offer it electronically.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, there's so many.
You're restricting it to.
Well, your just won't read it. If it's not electronic, they won't read it.
You're about my age, Andy, and we're in that transition era where we can do both.
Yep.
But my kids coming up, they don't like reading print.
No way. No dead trees.
The kids, my nieces and nephews, her 16 and 17, they don't. Everything's digital.
Yep.
All their books and everything are digital.
Yeah. My stepson, 15 years old, in school, he has an iPad, has all of his school books on it. He doesn't have a dead tree book of any kind whatsoever, even in the high school education system. He does not like the idea of reading something on paper. So if you want to, the argument against the youth coming into the hobby is a valid argument. But the people who are arguing, there's no youth in the hobby like NMRA and some of those. They're not only stating the reality, they're partly to blame for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's some of the old dinosaurs that are still in the NMRA that don't want to change over. Now look at I don't know how old Miles Hales is, and I don't know how old everybody is on the panel tonight. I'm 68.
Miles is a solid 30.
I love my computer. Yeah. And I have a email. Actually, I have 3 email addresses. But they turn around. They don't want to have anything to do with it because, shit. If they did any work in the last 10 years, if they were working out in the workforce, they would have had to deal with computers.
Yep. That's why I said it's not an ageist argument. It's not ageist. It's about adoption. And that is irrelevant of age.
We run into it all the time at work because as a diesel mechanic, the newer trucks are all electronic. They're all computer controlled. And we constantly have customers griping, complaining about it. It's like, well, then don't buy a new truck. They're like, oh, you guys aren't even mechanics. You got to have a computer to do your work for you. No, you have to have the computer to tell you more of what that engine's doing than a older mechanic could ever begin to know.
Yeah, you used to have to guess. In the absence of that computer, you guessed. An educated guess, but you still made guesses about what it was. The computer eliminates that guessing. The computer was not a replacement for the old way of doing things. It's an additive way to do things.
It has detracted some by the fact that it's added a lot more troubleshooting, but it has eliminated a lot of throwing parts at something to fix it.
Yep.
Yep. And in our hobby, look at what it's done for our hobby. You know, what I don't understand is these guys not wanting to put out their magazines electronically, but who of these guys is still using DC? I mean, these guys are all DCC. You know, vast majority of them using JMRI. They're not anti-computer. They're not Luddites. They're just against adopting the NMRA to the trend in publishing. I don't know that you could say that it's much other than laziness, you know, that they just don't want to do the work to get it there because they're not Luddites. They're not anti-technology. They just don't want to do the work to get there.
And the sad thing is the work's probably already done because to send it to the publisher, it's probably already in digital form.
Oh, they're producing it digitally. They're producing it with Microsoft Publisher or Adobe Acrobat. It's a digital, you know, it's in a digital form, but it goes to a publisher to turn it into paper. All they have to do is take that in format, release it in PDF, just like Model Railroad Hobbies does, drop it on a website that's behind a paywall where you got to pay the NMRA dues. But this argument's been had on every podcast and every channel around, and everybody, you know, higher ups the hobby have broached the NMRA about doing that, and they're not going to adapt. I'm not going to quit the NMRA just because they don't adapt, but I think it's going to hurt their new member adoption.
Oh yeah.
They're probably afraid that they're going to lose copies of the magazine because people are going to pass out passwords and not pay for the subscription.
Yeah, but I can turn around and give my copy to whoever I want. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yep. You can hand out paper just the same. It didn't change it. Didn't change CDs. People copied CDs. People copied tapes back in the day. Digital doesn't change it. What's up, Johnny? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say anything. That we're getting close to the bewitching hour.
Does that mean I'm going to turn into a pumpkin?
At the end of the month.
Something I found funny. Andy, have you gotten your Model Railroader magazine yet for this month?
You know, I think I did.
I did.
You remember what we were talking about a couple weeks ago on here about the telephone poles? Or actually, it's probably.
Yep, I see it. I'm looking at it right now.
They've got an article in there
doing
exactly what we were all talking about the other night with the telephone poles, using the Rick's products,
page
poles,
60,
and the Walters.
Page 60.
And
they use the Rick's tops on wood poles or something? I'm downloading it right now. I hadn't got it off here yet.
Page 60, Andy.
Where's that? In Model Railroader?
Yeah, page 60.
Yeah.
I don't
Page
get
60.
So.
Well, I'm going to go look that up right now and see. Because I've seen, quick and easy utility poles.
No.
Oh, yeah, those look, let's see if I can get a picture using, let's see if you,
They did a nice job. You know, they roughed up the poles to make them look like wood.
Oh, but they still use the plastic Rick's pole. I see that. See, I would stick them on. On a skewer.
Oh yeah.
What I don't like is the tops.
Yeah.
Of these, I don't like the tops, but the pole, I like just fine. But all you know, take a skewer. You know, a bag of these suckers is like $2. These are the greatest thing in the world in the hobby. I mean, I apply glue with them. I usually put windows on. My modules are pinned together with skewers. I put skewers in the styrofoam to help it keep from twisting to add rigidity. I put a little glue in the hole and it shove these things home. I use these things. I make utility poles out of them. I brace structures with them. These are awesome.
Yeah, here's my thing I was always wondering about. Yeah, everybody runs their feeder lines under their rail. You know, they're running their main bus line. Why not run your main bus line using telephone poles?
Above the surface of the railroad. Okay, I have thought about that because I don't. The bottom of my roadbed is, or my shelf, as you can see right there. There's nothing hanging below it. My wiring is under the homostope, within the styrofoam underneath it. I thought about doing wiring over the telephone poles. For one, it's pretty prototypical. My only problem is the size of the wire. So
That's
the wire.
that's the only thing I can see that would detract it is you're using a larger gauge.
See, and I got magnet. Yeah, the O scale you could do it. I got this magnet wire, and it's like a number 40 gauge. It's perfect wire for doing those telephone poles with, and I was going to use this. I don't like thread. People always do it with thread, but in my experience, I've done it before. Over time, the humidity gets to that thread, and it gets fuzzy, for lack of a better expression. It gets fuzzy.
You have to get the easy line, which is plastic.
That's the ticket. I was going to do this.
Using.
But the easy line is flexible. It doesn't break. It's easy to get the right hang. It's a no-brainer.
With your arm, it doesn't. It does. It's not like you're.
Yeah, the easy line is a no-brainer, and you could. I mean, I even thought, all right, I'm going to run power lines down to the houses. I've even, I've already put meter bases on some of the houses and run me a wire up with solder. I thought about just feeding the power to the house off from those telephone lines, but even doing that, the wire's just too doggone small. Pretty meaningful. You couldn't even power more than an LED off from it.
Plus prototypical.
I'm putting Arduinos in all of my structures, or I might use the PIX chips, but I'm going to use a controller in all my structures to control the lighting, and you just can't get enough power.
If you tried to make the wiring look prototypical in HO scale, especially, and anything below that, you would lose it. You wouldn't see it properly because it'd be too small.
Yeah, as much as I try to get perfect to prototype, there are things you have to adjust to get to the reality of it. Like ballast, for example. We talked a lot about ballast for a while, and we Jimmy Michigan gave us some homework to go out and look at and grab a rock of ballast and measure it off the prototype railroad. I have a line down here close to me, and I went and measured some stones so we could talk about the size, and we took them and broke them down and used calipers on individual grades of Woodland Scenics and Arizona Rock and Mineral and this ballast that I make that I screen from leveling sand. We talked about size. If you get prototypical, it's closer to sand, large sand, than it is to ballast. It's too large. But if you use sand, you don't get that particulate quality looking at the ballast. So my ballast is slightly oversized from what it should be, but it looks better.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sir?
We've hit the witching hour. We've going to have to shut this one down.
We're just getting going.
Yeah, I know.
Johnny's got to prepare for that hurricane that's coming anyway. So
No, I'm nowhere as close to it.
Dwight, before we go, I have to ask you, what is that logo of yours? What's the? Is that
one of many that's asked? That's a diesel locomotive in Germany that belongs to a model railroad club that operates a roundhouse. That's the locomotive they use to move cars around. They just had some fun and painted it,
Yeah, of course.
Alrighty. We've had a good show tonight. Definitely had a lot of different topics. Miles was in with us earlier. And I want to say thank you to everyone on the chat for your participation. Big Bill, Treyman, Gary, John was in here, Redneck Railroader, Train Room Gary,
The Prof, Sparky 107, 107.
Yeah.
Jim Lofton.
We also had Curtis in here. Ron from Australia was in the Q&A too.
Yeah, Ron Kleiss was on for a few minutes earlier too.
Yeah, and then on the panel we had Ron Kleiss, Andrew from Australia, and well, thank you, Ralph, for being in. Tim, for coming in. Dwight, good to see you back in the States again. You're gallivanting there in Germany. Glad to see your post on your railroads that you went and saw. Look forward to some more posting, hopefully.
Got a couple more pictures for you.
Andy, appreciate you being in here. And let's see what we got going here.
Jim in Michigan didn't join us tonight.
No, he didn't.
Damn, I had ice cream too.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully there'll be an after show going, so anybody who wants to join in that, it'll be posted on the G Plus community page. You can go look that up and join in on the after show hangout. And once they keep checking in on YouTubeMileBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, the EMAG, and the live show schedules. The live show is once every month. Got one coming up on October the 15th with Big Bill and Barry. That's going to be a good show. And we also have the EMAG. That just came out a few weeks ago. It's bi-monthly, comes out every other month. So JD and his crew do a great job of putting out a magazine there. Got a lot of interesting read. It's PDF. You can read it at your leisure on a wide variety of different electronic devices, say your smartphone or iPads, whatever. Tuesday presentations are twice a month, Tuesday night. It'll be second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday of the month is when the Tuesday presentations are. Thursday's general hangout is still every week. All the shows that we do, the Tuesday live show and the Thursday night hangouts, are 9 o'clock Central Time. So check your time zone so you don't miss out on the show. But hey, if you do, not a problem. In case, for those that work at second or third shift and can't watch it live, we do record these shows. You'll find them on YouTube Mile Builders on YouTube. They are in playlists for the Tuesday night, the live show. And we also have a JMRI playlist too there. So if you're trying to get into JMRI, go check that out, because we did some basic how-to videos for that. Also, like we announced at the beginning of the show, Miles Hill has a show October the 11th. He's Steve McKee, was it, Andy? Excuse me. He's going to do another layout tour on October the 11th. Also, October the 18th, a week from that Tuesday, Miles, Andy, and probably a few others, we're going to do something a little different. They're actually going to be building a kit live on the show. So we are going to post what kit they'll be, but we won't be able to do that till next week, towards the end of next week. What the kit will be, what paints you might need, what tools you might need to build that kit, so you can actually build the kit right along with them and be able to ask questions in the chat on how they're doing, whatever they're doing to build it, why they're doing it, and what their process is. So it's going to be a real interesting show. Like Miles said, you want to tune in, because you never know what guests they might have on that show.
John, can you tell me one more time, Saturday the 15th, what time that program is?
All our shows are 9 o'clock Central Time.
Oh, even the Saturday show. Okay.
Yeah, Saturday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
And this show that we're going to do on October the 18th, that'll be at 9 o'clock Central Time.
The 18th. That's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So appreciate everybody joining in tonight on the panel and also in the chat. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I guess with that said, we'll say have a good weekend. And we'll see you next Tuesday. So good night, everybody.
Good night.